Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 171. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we're talking about Hollow Knight Silksong, Peacemaker Season 2, Superman Man of Tomorrow, Marvel Rivals Season 4, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities in gaming and entertainment.
Yeah, so I'll start first. I've been continuing my Hero Academia journey. I, saw the trailer for the final. Well, I didn't see it, but I saw it on my subscription feed. I'm like, oh yeah, I should fucking finish that because it comes out in like October.
Yeah.
So, I already talked about seasons 1 through 4. Seasons 1 through 3, really good. I absolutely love the first 3 seasons of My Hero, but seasons 4 and 5 definitely starts to go down a bit. I think the story arcs in season 4 are good. Overhaul, even like the school festival shit. I didn't mind it. Like, I think it's fine. There's some good character development. I like Gentle Criminal as like a villain. He's fun. But the animation definitely takes like a turn due to the movies being in production, and you could really you feel that the most in season 5. Like, season 5 is definitely the lowest season of My Hero. Like, the story arc isn't great for the first half. With the Class 1B arc is just kind of boring. Unlike the other tournament arcs with season 2 or whenever they fight other classmates, like, I feel like there's like personal stakes in there. This one, like, there's some, but not really. Like, it's mostly just showing how the students sort of like evolved over the seasons, but like we already knew that. So it just felt very unnecessary. A lot of fights felt very dragged out. I think it's something My Hero does really well is having fights not last like too long unless it's like really important. Like, usually it's like a 1 episode thing and that's it. Like, you're not charging like a spirit bomb for like 2 episodes before something happens.
Yeah.
So I've always really appreciate that about My Hero, but this season definitely like really dragged out all the fights. A lot of them aren't even like that engaging to begin with. It's really not until like the last few with like the main characters like Todoroki, Bakugo, and Deku where it actually like matters. So that first half of and it's like long too. It's like 10 episodes for like this whole sequence, and I just feel like it drags on way too long. And then once you hit the second half, it gets a lot better in terms of story, but you could really start to feel the production problems. I believe this was made during COVID. Like, I think it was a 2020, 2021 production. So you could feel like that sort of affecting the season's quality in terms of animation, as long with them making the other fucking movie as well. So like the animation definitely does not look as good as compared to the past seasons. Apparently there was a lot of censorship for the My Villain Academia stuff. I don't know. I didn't read the manga, but apparently it was like kind of toned down to the anime. I still enjoyed it in terms of story, but yeah, a lot of people I saw were disappointed about that. And just a lot of cost cutting. There's so many flashbacks in this season. Like,
yes.
There was one episode with Endeavor where, it was a good episode after this point, but the first half was like literally like a recap telling you about everything that like the Todoroki family drama. I'm like, why do we need that? It's not a recap episode, and we're doing like a 5-minute recap. It was like insane. So yeah, season 5 is definitely the lowest point. That's definitely where I dropped off of My Hero, and I didn't come back to like now, just because I felt like, like more better shonens were coming out at this point, like Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, like that. They were getting like the hype up from My Hero at this point. And then My Hero is just kind of like sitting in the dust at that point with the lower production value, the animation not being as great, not being the new hype thing anymore. So, it was definitely like a really low point. I went on to season 6, because season 6 is like the best season of My Hero, like 100%. Like,
really,
it's crazy. The upturn from season 5 to 6 is like insane. Like, what not having a movie does to you. Like, seriously, like there was no movie in production, so like the animation is like insane this whole season. The first half just being like just one huge fucking fight the whole first half, which was great, and then the second half being like more of like the sort of like the hero society, like going through it because of like all the things that happened in that first arc. It was just like extremely good. Like, a lot of story arcs and character arcs all coming to a close, getting ready for the final battle. A lot of like the characters like finally getting good development. Talking about Bakugo, because I always fucking hated Bakugo.
Yeah.
Like, he finally got some pretty good stuff in this season. I fucking loved it. I thought it was a great season. It was definitely on par with the first 3 seasons in terms of just story, characters, animation. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm fucking talking about, bro. So, yeah, season 6, fantastic. I'm really excited to see what to do with season 7, and then the last bit. So, Definitely been enjoying my journey with this anime again. I'm happy I decided to watch all of it because I feel like I wouldn't have really appreciated it from just remembering things from like 10 years ago from this season, from season 6 to
Yeah.
now. So I'm just happy that I finally decided to like get through season 5 into like the good stuff again. So
Yeah.
really good.
Because ironically, season 6 is where I dropped off of My Hero. I think it's very early on with like a big thing that happens with Bakugo.
Yeah.
I think after that episode, I just dropped it. I don't know why, but I definitely have to get back into it because I'm sure we're gonna talk about it when the final season is airing, and then we'll have a huge discussion on it. Whatever.
Yeah.
So
All right. So for gaming stuff, I've been playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Starcross Worlds is the official name of it. And yeah, it was pretty good. I do think it's a bit like not as great as some of the other DLCs they've done, just Nintendo and like Kirby itself.
Mhm.
Like I think the Magalore DLC for the Kirby Returns to Dreamland was a bit better just because it felt more unique. This is definitely just like level packs. Like it's like here's some remixed levels from the original game. We added some new mechanics to it, and like some new enemy types, and that's about it. And it was fun. It was fun to go through these levels again. You get 12 new levels, and I believe the main game has like 25, so you get about like half of the level length, I believe, in this DLC. So it's not bad. You get like a new final boss. You get a new true arena. I haven't done that yet, but from what I've heard, it's pretty hard. So, and like the content itself was fine. I don't think it's anything that you're gonna be chomping at the bit for unless you want to play more Kirby and the Forgotten Land. What's really nice is this pack also comes with the enhancements for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So you get 60 FPS. Everything runs really smoothly. It just feels like a joy to play. Honestly, I didn't really feel like the performance was that much of an issue when I first played Forgotten Land, but now playing this version, I'm like, yeah, it's going to be hard to go back to a stable 30 frames, right?
Yeah.
So I think this DLC is great to buy if you haven't played Forgotten Land or if you just want a bit more of it. But if you're unsure, it's like, oh, should I get this? Like, probably not. I think the contents it offers are just like okay compared to like base Forgotten Land, which is a great game. Like, I love Forgotten Land. This DLC is just more of it. So if you want more Forgotten Land, there you go. But I don't think it's anything like too spectacular. But I'm glad I played it. It was fun. And last thing I've been doing is the hype overwhelmed me. I played Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
So like everyone's been talking about Silksong, and I was like, I don't know if I'll play it right now. Maybe I'll wait. But
Yeah.
everyone's haven't been showing up about it, and now we'll talk about the impact that Silksong's been having on the internet. But I'm playing Hollow Knight. So I played it originally in 2017. I played it like twice. I had like 3 hours on Steam, and then I had like 6 hours on the Switch version.
Mhm.
So I decided to get back into it. I'm playing the Switch version just because I'm probably going to buy Silksong on Switch 2, if anything, because I want to use it. So
Yeah.
there you go. But yeah, Hollow Knight, it's a really solid Metrovania. I guess like what makes it stand out compared to other Metrovanias is more Dark Souls like sort of inspired. So there's a ton of bosses. They're pretty hard. When you die, you have to like collect your soul again. So it's definitely like more of like I wouldn't say like hardcore like Metrovania, but it definitely is on the harder scale of things. I say if you played Metroid Dread, because that game also has like a ton of boss encounters that are like pretty difficult, I say you'll probably like Hollow Knight. But just from like the beginning of it, like I do think it flows extremely well as a Metroidvania. You get to explore obviously the different areas. You're gonna need to defeat bosses to get more power ups. But I feel like everything just flows together. Like you go to one area, you defeat the boss. And it feels very natural to go back to the previous area to use your abilities, get whatever collectibles you couldn't get before, so you could get to another new area. And everything just flows really nicely. The boss encounters are all fun to fight. They have great patterns to follow. And right now, I don't feel like any of them are too unfair, but I know the game gets pretty crazy towards the later half of the game.
Yeah.
The movement feels great. The art is fantastic. Like it just looks really nice hand drawn. Like I guess sprites. I don't know what you call them, just assets. I guess like everything just moves really nice. Music's great too. Like it's a nice mix of like ambient music to like actual music. But so far it's a great game. I'm excited to play more of it. Because Hollow Knight's a very special game to a lot of people, so I really want to give it the time it deserves and see like why people love it as much as they do. Because when I first played the game back in 2017, I didn't really have a lot of experience with Metrovanias, but now I've played through like every 2D Metroid game. I played through Ori and the Forest, like both of them, so I definitely feel a bit more experience in the genre than I did when I first started playing Hollow Knight. So definitely excited to see where I land and like like wherever I would put it, but I guess we'll see when it comes out. And I'm excited to play Silksong when I get to it eventually. So yeah,
Yeah, me and Damian were talking about, what
yeah, we
should
were
we
talking
do
about it.
for the
Yeah,
podcast and all this other stuff. And Damian was like, yeah, we're probably not going to play Hollow Knight soon. I was like, you know what? I'll wait. And then I fucking see this guy. Yeah, I'm playing Hollow Knight. I was like, okay. So I'll definitely get on that train soon because I am getting that itch to try it out, even though I'm not that experienced with Metroidvanias. With the game as big as this, where it's causing as much news and sort of curiosity across the games industry, it's like everyone's got to try it out, right? Even if you don't know what it is, or if you don't sort of have any experience with Metroidvanias, you got to see what it's about. You're probably popping into like Moist Critical stream or any other streamer that you may know that's playing the game and be like, what the fuck is Hollow Knight? What the hell is Silksong, Now, for what I've been doing, I played Demon Turf a little bit, only an hour. I definitely wanted to play a lot more, but just looking at the upcoming video game schedule release going into the later half of this year, I was like, I can't really commit like 15 hours to like this indie game when the next game that I want to play is also about around like 15 to 20 hours. So I was like, you know what, let me go and play a little bit of it just so I get my first impressions of it, see what these developers of Bubsy 4D have in store for us, and see what their first major, I guess, 3D platformer of their sort of catalog is. And yeah, pretty much what Damian described it as. It is a very interesting game from a art style perspective because pretty much everything is in 3D except for the characters. The characters are like 2D sprites. The way the game works is you're pretty much just platforming across individual levels. The way that the camera works is that you could either have it manual or auto. Personally, I didn't really see anything different between them when I did manual or auto. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But the game relies heavily on like the shadow placement of the character. So when you're jumping and platforming, you really need to pay attention to that. So it definitely reminds me of like old school platformers from like the PS1 era, kind of, where really the platforming can be a little frustrating at times, but that's sort of like the charm and the gimmick of it. So, like I said, I only played like an hour or so, but from what I did play, it was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I enjoyed the game a ton. I haven't like beaten it yet either, but I think once you get later on into the game and you unlock new sort of demon powers for traversal, I think the movement actually does feel a lot better than you would think. Like I was kind of turned off with the game from trying it from a few years ago because it was sprite based, because I'm like, I don't know how that would work in a 3D plane, but it ended up working pretty well. So I think when you do more platforming challenges, it does feel a lot better. But like you said, there's a ton of games coming out, so it's hard to really devote a ton of time to it at the moment, just because now we're heading into the busy holiday season. But I definitely would like to go back and beat it properly before Bubsy 4D comes out, whenever that comes out. So yeah.
Yeah, and also, what's the stupid side character's name with the glasses? He definitely reminded me of Bentley from Sly Cooper.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he did.
But the game that I've been majorly playing is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. My girlfriend has been begging me to play this game for, I want to say, over 6 months now, but I kept saying, after this game, after that game, after Donkey Kong, etc., etc. So I just kept holding it off. I definitely have been wanting to play this because, EA and Respawn have been patching the game out, because when it launched, it was honestly really, really buggy from what I heard. I haven't seen any gameplay footage of it, but just to get on that side of the game, the performance on the PlayStation 5, I'm playing on performance mode, so the game isn't going to look as visually pleasing, which I understand. Even then, it's still around where like a PS4 game would be, I would say. Even then, 60 frames per second is definitely very nice, but I feel like the graphics are nowhere near what the PlayStation 5 is capable of, which is why I think now the game is on like PS4 and Xbox One. So obviously EA and Respawn have found a way to downgrade the game a lot to really fit those consoles. But the game itself, if you like the first Jedi game, you're gonna like this one. It's more of the Souls-like action. You're pretty much going from planet to planet, exploring, trying to stop the Empire. And where Cal ends up at the beginning of the story is kind of interesting. It's literally just him. We don't know what happened to the rest of the crew. You learn that later on within the story. But I honestly kind of didn't like that approach at first, but now that we're getting more deep into it, we're reuniting with the crew, figuring out why they left Cal behind in his quest to fight the Empire. It's getting a lot more interesting. And yeah, I'm like 6 hours in, and I think the game's like 15, 20 hours, something like that. It is a lot of fun. I think that there's these new like challenge based levels that I discovered, and I was doing one of those for like half an hour yesterday because, you know, when it comes to me and like Souls like combat, I am very impatient, and when they're throwing like a fuck ton of enemies at you, and some of them are shooting at you, some of them are getting up in your face, it can get very overwhelming, and you're gonna get wombo comboed instantly within those challenges. But yeah, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, really, really enjoying it. It does suck that the performance is a little bad, I would say. It's not just visually. There are certain times where I'll see like BD1 just like hover in the air when he's like doing something, or sometimes he won't even like follow me or whatever. There was a mission that I did yesterday where like a character was just constantly teleporting over and over again, like right in front of my face. And when they do that, it makes a sound effect. So I'm literally just standing there and like the character just teleporting constantly, and I think I died, and then when I came back that glitch did not happen, so obviously that was like a bug. And then one last thing, when I was like in between like recording sessions, I would record 1 hour, then I would stop, take notes. Between that, the game crashed. I don't know what the fuck happened. God. The game just straight up crashed. I was like, what the hell? But that's the only time it happened, but I didn't get it on video because, like I said, I was in between recording sessions. But anyways, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, so far so good. Been reading some comic books because I need to get through my backlog of physical books because I've been reading a lot of digital. Still reading One Piece, but I don't have anything like DC Infinite or Marvel Unlimited, so I'm reading my physical books. So first up is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Old School, New School. This is like a prequel comic to that show. If you love the show, read the book. This book is honestly really, really fun. It captures the spirit of the show very, very well. And on top of that, it gives you a little bit more backstory on what happens in between when Peter gets his powers up until, I guess, like the first time we see him in action within that first episode. So there's like a little side plot here with, I think it's like Montana. You might remember him from like the Spectacular Spider-Man show. Obviously, it's just Peter and Nico just trying to stop them to sort of do their little gang stuff. And yeah, it's a nice little prequel comic. It's 5 issues long. It's actually not that thick. It's pretty small. But yeah, if you happen to be in a comic book store or even like Barnes and Nobles or something like that, pick this up. It's only $16. Not that bad for a trade paperback. Next one I have been reading is Power Rangers Ninja Turtles 2, the second crossover, because I've been picking up the third one, and I'm like, well, I got to read the second one before I get to that one. And yeah, pretty much the same old Power Rangers Ninja Turtles crossover stuff. They're teaming up to fight the bad guys. I think the first one had that little nuance of it happening for the first time, which is why I probably like it more. And also the Rangers and the Turtles fight against each other within that first crossover. This one doesn't happen, obviously, because they are now friends, acquaintances, and they're trying to defeat, I think it's Krang this time around. So there's a lot more villains, bigger bad guys in here. Still a fun, really, really, really good book. And if you like Ninja Turtles, like Power Rangers, definitely check it out. Movies, films. I watched Freakier Friday, even though I've never watched Freaky Friday.
You never watched Freaky Friday? What the fuck?
No, I've never watched Freaky Friday. Crazy. I wanted to before we saw it, but we changed our show time to be a day earlier. So I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm not going to watch Freaky Friday going into this. And the main reason we wanted to watch this was because Manny Jacinto, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm so fucking bad at pronouncing names. But he was in Star Wars Acolyte, and he is my Asian king, and he is in this film. So I was like, you know what? We got to go see it. And yes, he is hot. He is sexy. But the film itself, we see a lot of these sort of legacy sequels come out within recent years, whether it's like the big franchises or even movies like this, where it's like years and years ago have gone by since Freaky Friday came out, and now we got Freakier Friday within the big year of 2025. And this one, even though I've never seen the original, I feel like this one actually did it pretty well. It was very sincere. It was actually pretty funny. And it just had a lot of like the tropes that you would see within, I guess, like a stupid ass like comedy movie, but it was still fun. It didn't like shoehorn anything in. It felt like it was genuinely trying to be a sequel to the original. I know it sounds dumb as someone who hasn't watched the original, but it was actually like a really enjoyable film. And also the credits has a blooper reel, and I will always commend when comedy movies do that, because it is always fun seeing the cast just fuck up on set or just, have a good time. So Freakier Friday, I definitely went into it thinking that it was just going to be another like slop legacy sequel, but this one was actually pretty good.
That's
the other
good
movie, yes. The other movie I saw is called Caught Stealing. It stars Austin Butler and Zoe Kravitz, and I didn't really know much about the movie outside of the trailer.
Yeah, they kept showing the trailer, bro, like every single time.
Yes, but honestly, the trailer doesn't really give away too much. Obviously, if you've seen the trailer, it's about like this guy who pretty much gets caught in some like bullshit stuff that like I think his roommate got into or whatever. Someone within his apartment building also got into some trouble. So now it's in his life, and as the movie goes on, we get to see a little bit of Austin Butler's character story, and sort of how everything is sort of piling on top of each other, from the past events to what's going on currently, and it creates a very interesting story. It definitely feels kind of messy at times, but the plot revelations and the twists were definitely something that really hooked me in. As someone who loves plot twists, even when they're like kind of bad, this one actually did them pretty well, and I was very much engaged with the film throughout. It's like pretty much from at the end of the first act onward. It was like very, very engaging and a lot of fun. I think if you are a normie moviegoer, or if you know someone who doesn't see a lot of movies, they will probably be very impressed by this. But I think a lot of, I guess, like cinephiles, if you will not be as impressed with it. But I liked it. I think that it was pretty fun. And if you ever see it on streaming, definitely check it out. All right, so now let's talk about Peacemaker, Season 2, Episodes 2 and 3. This is obviously this sort of thing that came after Superman. We talked about it. The first episode premiere last time, it pretty much set up that Peacemaker killed himself from another dimension where his brother and his dad are viewed as heroes, and they aren't, sort of like bad guy, anti-vigilante sort of bullshit. And now Chris Smith is trying to navigate between the two worlds, and it's kind of interesting because you also have Argus trying to stop Chris Smith from whatever the fuck's going on within his house. And then you also have Chris Smith just trying to deal with his trauma of his childhood, and also just him killing people for like a living, and how that has really affected him as a person. So honestly, last night's episode 3 is probably my favorite, because we got to see more of that alternate dimension stuff and see how different it is from the world that we know, and having Chris Smith navigate that as well, just being like, hey, pop quiz, like where does she work, and then how do I get there, all this other stuff. It's very tongue-in-cheek in terms of how they're doing the comedy, and sort of how we're discovering between the old world and the new one.
Yeah, I really like this multiverse story, because I feel like it's been very played out over the years recently, especially recently with Marvel and basically everything else doing something like this. But with this show, I really like this. It's just, right now it's just one alternate dimension, and just seeing how his life is basically perfect, but also like how they play into it, how the Chris Smith in that dimension was still kind of a piece of shit.
Yes.
And I feel like they're going to play into it where it's like all this trauma that he had in this old universe ended up making him a better person. Like if he had this perfect life in this dimension, like he probably would still be like a dickhead, like maybe not like a murdering dickhead, but like he still was not a great person to everyone around him. Like with his brother said, like, you're not using those pills again, or hardcore being like you were sleeping around. So I feel like all the trauma and the friendship that he made in his dimension is going to be like, I guess that's going to be the overall point, being like, like you're not going to be who you are if you weren't in that dimension to begin with. So I like that. But like you said, I like exploring this alternate reality where he is like a hero. People actually gave a shit about Peacemaker. Like he's not like a joke, right? I really enjoy seeing that other side of what could have been, and his dad not being a piece of shit.
Yeah, it is definitely a very jarring thing to go from one side to the other, because obviously within episode 3, we see that hardcore is like, Chris and I will never fucking happen. And then we go to Chris's perspective where he's in that other universe, and, it looks like hardcore really wants to make it work, like she wants that that future with him, but obviously Chris was sleeping around, or he was curious, or whatever the fuck that he was doing, right? So to see that there's literally two sides of the coin that Chris is living in, and I can't wait to see what happens within episode 4, because he's pretty much going back home, and back home is not where I think he necessarily wants to be, but he has to, because he has to keep up this ploy of playing both Chris's at the same time. And my favorite character within the show by far probably has to be Vigilante, but I think the new character played by Tim Meadows, Langston Fleury?
Flurry? Like, he has a weird fucking name. They all have weird names.
But he was so fucking funny within his goddamn intro episode with Economos. Like, just their back and forth between each other was just so fucking funny. And even within episode 3, that stuff still continues with his bird blindness and shit like that. I'm just like, what the fuck are we talking about here? But it makes sense. I love it. And, I cannot wait to see what other shenanigans these characters get up to.
Yeah, I really enjoy just how tight knit they start to feel as like a friend group, even if they have like fractures within it, with Hardcore and Chris like going through it or whatever. But seeing them like have that party on the rooftop, just hanging out, having a good time, I like that. And that's something I brought up in season 1, where James Gunn loves his like group of misfits having fun times. They get to bond over their shared trauma, and seeing all that happen, it's great. And because a lot of their lives ended up being worse because of the Project Butterfly incident, but they also seem way happier than they did in season 1, just because they have that sense of like friendship and belonging now, because they like know trauma. Who they are. Yeah, it's that shared trauma, right? So it's good to see that like get further developed in episode 2 especially. And it's gonna be interesting to see how Peacemaker sort of navigates going through their dimension and like this alternate reality, and how that messes him up, or maybe, again, like I said, like makes him appreciate what he already has, right? Because that other dimension might as well not even exist to him. Like it's not his world, right? And like you said, the comedy is still on point. Like, it's just still really funny. That character is really funny. I've seen him in, I used to watch a sitcom called like The Goldbergs, and he was like their like school counselor, and he was really funny in that show too. So just seeing him be like a fucking weirdo in this it's great. So
yeah, Tim Meadows, I am on board.
Yeah, he's a great actor, and just again, like the comedy in general is just great all the time. It's just really weird, and it just makes me laugh every time. Same thing with Vigilante, dude. Like, that guy is so fucking weird,
bro. He's just unhinged, but in like the most perfect way possible, because like he's woke, but also he's like fucking weird in his own way as well.
Like psycho, yeah.
We obviously cannot sort of miss the big reveal within episode 3 is that Rick Flag Jr. was with Hardcore before everything that happened within the Suicide Squad, and just seeing that revelation play out for us as the viewer, and then go into that whole, I guess, like quick like 5-second like flashback thing with Suicide Squad, and then we go into the alternate dimension, and then Chris Smith has to face Rick Flag Jr. again, and he's fuck shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, like more trauma getting unpacked here, and just having him fucking try to sneak around the office really badly was such a funny bit.
Yeah, it's going to be like a big part of this season, because last season didn't have like any Rick Flag, because he was dead. So it's cool to see them kind of like circle back, and because that was a big part of Peacemaker's like trauma, was that whole moment, but also made him a better person in turn, right? Because we saw that a lot in season 1, how he kept thinking about that final moment when he stabbed Rick Flag Jr. So it's going to be cool to see him sort of confront that sort of ghost of him in this dimension. Same thing with his father in his actual dimension. So, that's a big plot point that's been very important for Peacemaker to like overcome. It does make me want to rewatch the Suicide Squad, 'cause it's been like forever since I have done that, because I'm like, I didn't remember all the stuff from that. But I still think that is a great plot point to sort of bring back into the fold. It seems like this season is less on like the bombastic stuff and a lot more of like his internal like struggles as a character. Even though he went through that in season 1, it seems doubly so in this season, which is great. And it's also cool to keep seeing the continuity between this and Superman, because they already mentioned the Metropolis incident and how the reason why they want to like contain this doorway is because they don't want like another like dimension splitting event happening. So that's cool to see as well. So definitely excited to see the rest of this season. I know James Gunn says like the later episodes get insane, so I'm excited to see like where that leads for the character and just for the overall world of the DCU in general, right? So I think he's been doing a fantastic job like all his DC projects have been great. Like I don't think I've ever been this invested into DC anything for like ever. So, good on James Gunn for really, hammering at home how good he is. And I was actually talking to my brother about this. I think the reason why the DCU has been feeling so great is because he's been so directly involved with it, right?
Yes.
Kevin Feige did a really good job during the early days of the Marvel, up until like Infinity War and Endgame. But I feel like he's never he's good at like sort of like making the bigger picture. While James Gunn like writes, he directs, he's like in there, right? Like he really knows what he's doing with
he's
these characters.
He's in the trenches. He knows what the fight's going on.
Like he's in the trenches, so like he knows everything he wants these characters to do and say and how it's going to connect to the larger picture, right? And that's really starting to show with Superman and Peacemaker season 2. So I have great faith in all the other DC projects because Peacemaker has been fantastic and Superman was really good as well. So yeah, just great stuff overall.
Yeah, and even if he isn't like directly involved with like the writing or like directing process, which we will see with Supergirl, I feel like that he knows what's going to work for the DC universe within this new iteration of it. And yeah, I am just so excited to see what this season is going to bring because like you said, I don't think anyone outside of himself, James Gunn himself, have seen episodes 6, 7, and 8 because I think those episodes are like the craziest stuff that will lead into the Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and all of the other DCU shenanigans. And it's kind of crazy that like, now that we have this new cinematic universe for DC, that they are able to connect the movies and the films so well so far, right? We're only 3 episodes in within Peacemaker out of 8, but it seems like that it's doing a much better job compared to Marvel, and they have like a huge catalog of just shows and movies that they've done ever since they started their whole Disney Plus initiative within 2020 to bring the shows in and have everything connect. And now they're sort of backtracking on that again because they're like, oh shit, maybe it is too much content and no one's really watching as much as they thought they would be. So Peacemaker season 2, very, very good. We obviously, just love it so far and cannot wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess speaking of DCU, James Gunn announced Man Tomorrow is going to be coming out July 9th, 2027. So pretty soon compared to, some of the other projects in the MCU. And it's going to be the next film in the Superman saga, but not Superman 2 like exactly. So I'm guessing that's like, Supergirl is also going to be a part of the Superman saga, I'm imagining. So
I don't know if he's directly confirmed or said anything about like the Superman saga, if you will, but my theory in terms of like this Man of Tomorrow movie is going to be like a co-lead with Lex Luthor and Clark Kent, and then it'll lead into Superman 2 as like its own standalone thing. But even then, like just getting any sort of sequel to Superman, which we just got so soon within 2 years from now, is kind of crazy. I just love that James Gunn is really putting his foot on the pedal and really capitalizing on the major success that we have with Superman. We see Marvel have so many successes post Endgame, but they haven't really capitalized on any of them, to be honest. I think Simu Lee, he kind of reacted to Man of Tomorrow getting a sequel, and meanwhile he's waiting for his call, because now Dustin Daniel Cretton is working on Spider-Man, and Shang-Chi 2 is still up in the air. But yeah, I'm excited to see what James Gunn has in store for Man of Tomorrow. I think a lot of people's theories about it being like a sort of Lex Luthor, Clark Kent / Superman co-lead movie is probably correct, because I think getting a film where we get to really focus on both of those characters and see where their ideologies lie, where they differ, all that other stuff, that sort of nuances between them will make them such a very much more interesting hero versus villain dynamic.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's also going to be like a team up movie between the two, and I'm assuming it's going to be like maybe versus like Brainiac or his father or something, since they already alluded to his father and the rest of the Kryptonians not being good people in this universe.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's probably going to follow up on that, and we see Lex Luthor in his power armor, so that's pretty sick. So I'm assuming we're going to see something like that in the next movie. But like I said, I think also the fast turnaround is also just like I was saying before. James Gunn just knows where he wants the story to go, so it seems like it's just having faster production times because he just knows everything he wants to do with it. It's like, okay, I want this to happen, I want that to happen, so at least they're very natural, just making the sequel right away, right? Obviously, like the effects and post production is going to take forever because it always does. But it's good to see like how confident he is in this universe compared to the MCU at the moment, where it seems to be like floundering and being like, okay, we got to course correct to see what people actually like. While the DCU is just kind of doing its thing at the moment, which is crazy to say, because I've always been a pretty harsh critic on how DC has done things, but under James Gunn, it seems like it has a pretty strong leadership at the moment compared to the MCU. But I'm gonna wait for Spider-Man and Doomsday until I say it for sure. But yeah, definitely is looking like a pretty strong sequel, and I'm excited to see Supergirl as well when that comes out.
Yeah, I think Marvel's true test is probably going to be post Secret Wars, once like everything's a quote unquote clean slate. It's not going to be a straight up reboot as Kevin Feige said, but they're going to sort of reestablish certain things that are going to happen within Marvel Studios and whatnot. So, but speaking of, Tom Holland did a interview with LADbible recently, and he sort of gave a little bit of details regarding Spider-Man Brand New Day. He revealed that he was very much hands-on with the sort of suit design. He very much, gave a lot of points to just like executives and I guess the team working at Marvel and Sony working on the film. And he is trying his best to have the best film for what fans want within a Spider-Man movie. And he's been the driving force within those pitch meetings. So, the producers might be sick of him, but he understands that these movies are for the fans, and he somehow managed to not confirm any more Spider-Man projects beyond Brand New Day, including a 5th or 6th movie, or even his appearance within Avengers Doomsday / Secret Wars. So, yeah, a lot of people are taking the sort of quote that he said about him making the movie for the fans and him looking around online as like, oh my God, he watched like the fucking like freaking High Top Films video, or he's seeing like the bad side of the Spider-Man Twitter sort of sphere, if you will. And I think that that's kind of interesting. I think people are just being very pessimistic, which is rightfully so within 2025 in terms of how the world is right now. But I think that he is looking everywhere in terms of fan opinions, and he's not looking at just like the loud majority of people that are like, yeah, your movies are terrible. Like, this is why X, Y, and Z. I feel like that he probably looked at pitches and looked at fan responses of people wanting like a really grounded Spider-Man movie for whatever happened after No Way Home, right? Because I think that the ending for that film, which I think he even brought up for himself, where like he wants to do justice for the last film, and sort of, what are we going to put Peter Parker and Spider-Man in now that no one knows who the fuck he is, right? So, I think that people are just taking that comment a little too seriously, and, they should be a little bit more optimistic in terms of his approach to filmmaking. Because, Tom Holland, he's an actor. He knows how Hollywood works. He knows his sort of power and authority over Sony and Marvel at this point, that he has a lot of, say in like how his films are going to be made now. And it seems like Spider-Man Brand New Day is looking to be just that.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to just make it a ground level, like a street level story, because after all the events in No Way Home, it just like makes sense. Like, them trying to make into another multiverse story was like so dumb. Like, I just don't see how that would fit into how that movie ended with no one knowing who Spider-Man is again, right? That was like the perfect opportunity to make it street level, and they are. So I'm happy that they are doing it. And, I'm sure like, Tom Holland having more of creative control over this movie is great as well, because at this point he's been Spider-Man the longest out of like any of the live action Spider-Man. So I feel like he has the right to say like how he wants his character to act and how his costume is, and just, have some say in this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And, I know people are very negative about Tom Holland being Spider-Man still. And I'm just like, I mean, at this point, I'm just like, I don't know, like, it's been so long and you're still mad about it. I'm just like, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're fine to like enjoy whatever Spider-Man you want, but I feel like at this point, Tom Holland has proven himself to be a good Spider-Man. Like, maybe not the best or not how you want him to be portrayed, but with this movie, it's like, particularly, like, I think he's going to do a great job sort of bringing, like, bridging the gap between what people expect Spider-Man to be and like what it is now. Being like this more homegrown, like, he's, in an apartment, he's like, everything sucks, his life is ass, right? So I'm sure that is going to bring those people that wanted that version of Spider-Man into the fold now. So I'm excited for this movie. Everything they've been showing about it, from the costume to the tone to it being street level, it has me very excited for what's to come in just like sort of like the Spider-Man spirit. Like, even if everything else sucks in the MCU, at least I could know like I'm gonna enjoy the Spider-Man movie, right? So I'm excited for this. So Tom Holland has so much faith in it. I'm excited for it as well. So
yeah, and I've said this for years. I always believe that Tom Holland as Spider-Man has always been great. Like him as an actor, I just think that the material that he's been given has not been the best, which makes sense because it's so intertwined with the MCU prior. Now that he has had a full reset of the character, now that we viewed his origin story across 3 movies, along with the sort of Avengers titles and even Captain America Civil War, which is where he introed, he now is able to do his own thing, really have his own movie. But even then, people are looking at things like the Hulk and the Punisher coming in, and maybe it is too much. Maybe it is going to be the same old bullshit that we got before, but I don't think so. I just think that they're just putting in Marvel Studios MCU characters because it's probably part of the contract to a certain extent, right? So, Spider-Man fans just being Spider-Man fans.
Yeah, they're like Sonic fans. You can't make them happy.
Never.
Alrighty, so more Marvel news. So Marvel Rivals Season 4 has gotten a new trailer, and we got 2 new heroes. It's coming out September 12th. We're getting Daredevil, which I'm sure is a big one over there. And I believe Valkyrie, right? Is that the next one we're getting?
I believe so, or maybe it's Angela. I forget exactly.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think it's like Thor's sister. Let me just double check that real quick. But yeah, Marvel Rivals, I looked it up recently, like literally right before we started this show. And the fact that the game came out like not even a year ago, it came out at the end of last year. And, the game is as big as it is kind of crazy, Yeah, it is Angela. I believe this is Thor's sister or something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Thor's long lost sister. But we are now within season 4 and people are still playing it. Millions and millions of people. Obviously, the sort of Marvel flair to it helps a lot. And, as someone who plays it on and off again, I play Overwatch more because that's just my girlfriend's preferred cup of tea. Marvel Rivals is still fun every now and then. I just think my problem with the game is like the matchmaking, which is like just across both of the hero shooters that I play, Marvel Rivals and Overwatch, but especially Marvel Rivals because it is open queue, which I think is fine. I think having a nice diverse roster of like characters and being able to swap the team comps whenever you want, whether it's 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 healers, or maybe even 3 healers, 1 tank, 2 DPS, whatever. Like whatever will fit your guys that game, I think is fine. I think that is like the beauty of Marvel Rivals, but it's also the downside of it because some people will swap off when like they really shouldn't have, or certain things might happen, etc., etc. Like the matchmaking is fucking terrible. And I could say the same thing about Overwatch, but at least in Overwatch who's playing what, and people aren't going to swap drastically 2 different heroes and do all this other crazy stuff. But season 4 announcement, the only reason I fucking put this shit on here is because Daredevil, and also somehow they're bringing it to PS4. Like that is like another crazy thing that they are going to do. I think everyone memeing about the fact that someone's gonna fucking play Doctor Strange and then it's gonna crash the PlayStation 4 players is going to be very funny. I think that might even be a possibility. Who the fuck knows? But I don't know how NetEase Games is going to make that game function on PlayStation 4, but I guess they found it. They've somehow found it within their coding to make it work. But yeah, Daredevil within Marvel Rivals Season 4, I think he's going to be within the second half, so wake me up when that happens. But it is still Matt Murdock. He's possessed by D Zhang or something like that. It's something to do with the Marvel Rivals lore, which is why he's wearing like fucking armor and he has like that super deep voice and he actually looks like a fucking devil. But yeah, I mean, I don't care. As long as Daredevil's in the game, I'm down. I will try him out. I will play him. Even though I'm not that big of a fan of like those kind of heroes that like get super duper up close and personal. But it's Daredevil. I will definitely try him out when he comes out, whenever halfway through season 4 is.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because he's really bulky in this. So I wonder if he's gonna be a fucking tank. Like it's weird, right? Usually when I think about Daredevil, he's very acrobatic and kind of Spider-Man-esque in terms of like combat style, or whatever. So it's gonna be interesting to see him be, I guess, more of a tank. Again, we don't know his role yet. Like we know this lady is a tank. She's like a flying tank, so that's interesting. Don't know how that's gonna work, but sure. And with Daredevil, we see him doing all his got crazy power. I got even the playing field. Like give him crazy demon powers, whatever. You can't be like he's a blind dude. We gotta give him sun. So definitely interesting to see that. And just seeing our rivals still compete with Overwatch. It's been a whole debate again lately because Overwatch had a big patch and people seem to be enjoying it. And people say more rivals fell off, but I think rivals definitely is still doing great on Steam. Like I think it still has like 90K players playing it on that platform alone. Same thing with Overwatch. Like they seem to be very neck and neck now, which is great. I think competition is always a good thing. Like I feel like that's why Blizzard has been trying so hard lately to make their game better, is because Marvel Rivals was like the first competition they've really had in terms of a hero shooter.
And they were kicking their ass at first.
Yeah. And they were kicking their ass, but deservedly so. Blizzard has been not doing super great with Overwatch 2 when that game was coming out. But now that they launched like Stadium mode, which people enjoyed, they did like the perk system, like they just make the game stand out a bit more than how Overwatch 1 worked. The updates seem to be a bit better. I haven't played Overwatch in like forever, so I don't know. But, just them actually trying to make the game feel more, just have stuff in it again. Like it's great, right? And I'm sure Rivals is going to feel the same way. Like they kind of reduced their patch cycle from 3 months to 2 months now. So they want more content out faster. So that's going to get more people to play Rivals. So again, these things are great. We want competition. We want these things to like fight head to head. We don't want one game or something to be on the top because then they get lazy, they produce worse content, and everyone suffers from that, right? So I'm happy that these two seem to be neck and neck finally, and they could compete to make each other better. So yeah.
As someone who's been playing a lot of Overwatch recently, I think you can make a debate between either or, obviously, but I think you cannot deny that Overwatch is just a much more polished game.
Oh, 100%,
because it is made by Blizzard. Like the game just feels a lot smoother to play. There's like that polish to it, unlike with Marvel Rivals, where like some of it, it's still a game, it's still functioning, but some of it does feel a little janky. And one thing that I noticed between playing both of those games, like in like comp or whatever, obviously I'm in like fucking low elos, like it's probably going to be like the same as you keep going up, but I always play tank or healer because people always lock in DPS like super duper fast. And if you try to queue up as DPS, the queues are going to be a lot longer because everyone's trying to play DPS. People that just play DPS are fucking terrible. Like they're just straight up terrible. They don't know that they should be going for the healers, or like they don't know that positioning properly or anything like that. And I'm just like, bro, it's not that fucking hard, bro. I'm trying to make space for you and you're just dying. Like, I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I just get so fucking tilted when I play, especially Overwatch. I think Marvel Rivals, I do get tilted, but I think I'm a little more lenient on it just because it's fucking 6v6. So it is just genuinely going to be harder to get through, but I digress. All right. So last thing we are talking about today is Hollow Knight Silksong. Even though both of us have not played it yet, we got to talk about the fucking hype and the sort of things that were going down yesterday, because when it released, everything went down. Legit. Steam, Nintendo eShop, PlayStation, I think maybe even the Xbox Marketplace went down. But those three in particular, because I was checking those three at work, and I was like, yeah, they're fucking down. Like Steam just straight up crashed. Nintendo, you couldn't even get to the checkout screen or whatever. And I think PlayStation, when I checked, it wasn't even like out yet. But I'm sure once it was out, it fucking like crashed everything. And that is just crazy. I think right now on Steam, I literally wrote this down before we started the show. It's 543,739 players. And that is the new peak, which was before we started. And I'm sure it might even go up as we get into the weekend. And I'm sure that there's people across the world that are just having that game open on Steam just to see that sort of player count go up. But yeah, it is just so crazy to see that people are so excited and so invested into this game. And when we talked about it, when the game was finally getting a release date, people were sort of complaining and not exactly all that happy with Team Cherry's communication. And, I was playing devil's advocate, which I still will. I was pretty much saying that, like, hey, like, I think it's their game. If they want to sort of give you guys information when they want to, that is their sort of priority. That's how they did it. And you know what? I will give them the balls for doing that, because that is such a risky maneuver, because a lot of people were losing faith in terms of like the game even being real. Did it get canceled? What's going on with fucking Silksong? Give me some information, right? Like that's pretty much how fans were, which like I don't blame them. You know, they have been waiting for this sequel for well over 5 years, and now that it is finally out, and you know, I haven't really heard anything bad about it. You know, everyone has been really, really enjoying it. It's only $20, which obviously is a huge reason why the game has been selling so well and has so many players on Steam. You know, when I finally get around to it, I'm gonna fucking be so happy to just pay $20 to get a really high quality game that you know that a lot of people love, right? Like whether I actually enjoy it or not, you know, just me having to pay not even $30 for a game like this is gonna be really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like 500,000 players concurrently is like insane for a game like this. Like it's like when I saw it when it first launched, it was like 100K players, which I already thought was insane. I'm like, holy shit. And then later that day I checked, it was like 500,000. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like in awe with that. And you know, I think Team Cherry does deserve it. They made a really high quality product. You know, from what I've heard, it has no bugs, you know, besides the bugs in the fucking game. Haha. You know, right. But you know, it has no bugs. It's a very polished product. It's $20, only $20 for the amount of content in this game, which I heard like there's a trophy, I think, to like 100% of the game. It's like a speedrun trophy. It's 100% of the game in 30 hours, and that's a speedrun. So that means that game has a shitload of content in it. And you know, they're just selling that for $20 after so long. I'm like, they could have easily charged like $30, even $40 for this if they wanted to, but they decided to, you know, stick true. You know, $20, and there you go. And you know, I think this says a lot for just the current gaming sort of eco space. You know, the two largest games this year are this game and Expedition 33. Those are the two games that everyone's been talking about nonstop. And both of those games were made by smaller teams on a smaller budget. They cost way less than the normal AAA game. You know, Silksong costing $20 and Expedition 33 only costing $50. Like, it, you know, I think we are hopefully going to see a shift in gaming development being like, you don't need to spend a bunch of money to make a game, right? Like I'm gonna bring up Spider-Man 2 for an example. You know, that game, it didn't take that long to make, I believe, but it also cost like a shitload of money to make. And I'm just like, do we need to like spend that much money for one singular game? This goes for movies as well, right? Like people just spend so much when at the end of the day, people just want just a fun game, you know, with fun mechanics. Like you don't have to animate every single blade of grass in like a field or whatever. Like you could just have it just be a fun game with a nice, unique art style, and people will eat it up and have a good time with it, right? So, you know, hoping this shift with, you know, both of these games being like the standout games of this year shows that, yeah, not every developer, obviously people are going to want those big games, right? Like, you know, myself as included, right? But it's nice, like, if these developers could make smaller games on the side and take a bit more risk and just release these games and see what happens, right? Like, it probably won't cost them that much. They might make return on investment, and you might have like a new like franchise on your hands too, right? So it was really cool to see Silksong succeeding so hard after so many years of, you know, being and not even delayed, just like not fucking coming out. So I'm happy fans of Hollow Knight could have a great game to enjoy, because I heard it's also extremely good as well. And you know, I think it just speaks with how people want their games to be nowadays, like just cheaper games, you know, made just with a bunch of love and passion, and there you go, right? So really happy for Silksong's success. Hopefully other developers could take note of how well it's doing. So but yeah, I'm excited to play it once I actually get around to it.
Yeah, you know, and to anyone that doesn't know why it took Silksong so long, I think the developers literally said it's because we had so much fun just making the game, so we just kept adding stuff.
It wasn't in people say it wasn't in development hell, it was in development heaven, bro. It was just like they kept adding shit because they were like, no, we have like infinite time, we have infinite money, let's just make this the best game it could possibly be. And like that's, you know what, I give it to them. Like I still think the communication could have been a bit better, but I give it to them for just making the game they wanted to make. Like this is like the perfect game. Like they like see no other way they can make this game better. They have all the resources. You might as well go all out, right? So you know, applause to Team Cherry for doing that shit.
Yeah, pretty much just able to do what they want, have their team still be as small as the first game was, maybe add a few more people. I'm not exactly sure how the sort of team grew or sort of stayed the same, but yeah, Silksong really is probably high contender for Game of the Year at this point. You know, whether you play it or not, I feel like a lot of people are going to be having their eyes on this game when the Game Awards come around, because it's like, yeah, like this game has been alluded to for years and years and years, and now that it's finally here and now it's out, the amount of success and the amount of praise that it's getting. And also shout out to Team Cherry for, you know, them being like, hey, it's coming out on this day. We're also not giving out like any like early keys when it comes out. That's when IGN, all of the other big outlets are going to get their hands on it, so you know exactly early reviews. So this is literally just raw, like legit raw coming out, and 500 plus people are on Steam alone. Like we don't know the numbers on Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, etc., and I'm sure it is similar to those player counts. So yeah, Team Cherry is, you know, they waited so long to finally release this game, and now they are reaping the reward. So very, very happy for them. And yeah, you know, excited for us to eventually play it one of these damn days. But, you know, we got some other shit to do.
I'll see if I can play it before the end of the year, because it looks like December is not too many games coming out. But we'll see. I'll definitely try and make time for it. So, yeah.
All right. So is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
No, I think that's everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 171. We'll see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
See ya.